This year's World Series was ridiculous in the best way. Everywhere you looked, there was another storyline. From Vlad versus Ohtani, Yamamoto's 3 wins, and bullpen guys on both sides turning into surprise legends overnight, there was no shortage of narratives. But the moment that stuck with me wasn't one of the headliners. It came from a single batter, a tiny slice of the series that ended up being the perfect final note for one of the best pitchers of his era. It was the 496th time Clayton Kershaw ever took the mound for the Los Angeles Dodgers, and the last 8 pitches he'd ever throw. 1 batter, 1 out, and somehow it turned into the most poetic ending his career could have ever asked for. Clayton Kershaw's career is the kind you read about in the history books. He's one of the best pitchers of his era. 11 All-Star selections, 3 Cy Young Awards, and an MVP as a pitcher. A no-hitter and a career ERA in the mid-2s, he basically spent a decade as one of the top pitchers in the National League. If the season ended on September 30th every year, Kershaw would probably be in the GOAT conversation. That's how dominant he was from April through September. Video game numbers, stretches where he'd go a full month giving up like 3 runs. But the reason Kershaw's legacy gets complicated is simple. The moment the calendar flipped to October, his numbers flipped too. His regular season win percentage sat near 700. In the postseason, it dropped to 500. His career ERA went from a clean 2.53 during the season all the way up to a 4.62 in the playoffs, almost double. His ERA in each series are as follows: a 4.97 in the NLDS, 4.84 in the NLCS, and a 4.42 in the World Series. In elimination games, the ones that get replayed forever, he posted an ERA of 5.77. And the frustrating part is that some of his struggles weren't even disasters from start to finish. A lot of them were 1 bad inning, 1 bad pitch, or a manager leaving him in just a little too long. But in October, 1 mistake can erase 6 innings of brilliance. People don't remember the strikeouts from early on in the start. They remember Anthony Rendon and Juan Soto going back-to-back in the 2019 NLDS. They remember the Cardinals ripping him in 2014 and the Astros rally in 2017. The truth is, Kershaw wasn't awful in every postseason. Sometimes he was good, sometimes he was fine. But when you're one of the best pitchers of your generation, fine in October isn't enough. It may not be fair, but fans expect greatness every single time out, and anything short of that sticks to your name. And between the big moments, the blown leads, and the few truly rough outings, the playoff choker label grew louder and louder. That's the duality of Clayton Kershaw, one of the greatest regular season pitchers ever, and one of the most criticized postseason pitchers ever. 2 careers living inside the same guy. And that's why moments like his final World Series appearance in 2025 felt so heavy. Because after everything, the final out he would ever get would come in October, and it quite literally could not have meant more than it did. Clayton Kershaw's role this postseason was probably the least glamorous it's ever been for him. He wasn't there to be an ace, he wasn't getting lined up for big matchups, and he definitely wasn't being saved for late-inning high-leverage spots. The Dodgers basically carried him for one reason: coverage. His job was to protect the rest of the pitching staff from getting overworked when a game got sideways or stretched too far. He wasn't even on the wildcard roster at all because he had just pitched the regular season finale, and by the time he rejoined the team for the NLDS, the message was pretty clear. The Dodgers were going to try to lean almost entirely on the rotation, and worst comes to worst, use a select few of their best bullpen arms. They didn't have many comfortable innings to give away, so Kershaw was slotted as the guy who would take whatever scraps were left over. The innings no one else wanted, the frames where the situation wasn't clean or the game wasn't going anywhere. And that's exactly how the Dodgers used him. He pitched once in the NLDS, and it wasn't glamorous. He came in during Game 3 to try to keep things close, coming into the game when the Phillies were up 3-1 and pitching the 7th and 8th innings. He would end up giving up 5 runs, 4 earned before leaving the game, with his 2025 postseason ERA being a whopping 18. But behind the pitiful performance, the real goal was accomplished: buy time and save arms. Make sure the bullpen didn't burn bullets before the series got tight. Even when the outing went south, hard contact, long at-bats, balls in the gap, he stayed out there, not because he was dominating, but because his role wasn't about that anymore. It was about absorbing the damage so the guys they needed the next night wouldn't have to. That was his postseason identity, the insurance policy, the inning eater. The guy who at 37 years old understood the assignment better than anyone. It wasn't being hidden, and he wasn't being punished. He was doing a job most former MVPs and Cy Young winners would never accept, and doing it because he knew someone had to. Just the guy holding the pitching staff together in all the little places nobody ever pays attention to. Until the night he ended up making an out that literally helped save everything. Really quick pause: if you're enjoying the video so far, please be sure to give it a like and subscribe, as it really helps out the channel. Other than that, thank you so much for watching, and let's get back into it. Fast forward to Game 3 of the World Series. 18 innings, a game that felt like a marathon. Neither team had any pitching left. Starters were warming up in hoodies. Position players were probably half a joke away from getting asked if they ever pitched in high school. And because it was that kind of night, Clayton Kershaw eventually had to get loose. So to see him warming up in the 12th inning in his last season, in a game basically where one singular mistake would be critical, there was something weirdly full circle about it. He didn't look relaxed, and he later admitted in an interview after the whole thing that the bullpen thing was kind of new and unsettling for him. Combine that with what this moment meant, not just the situation on the field, but what it meant for him personally, how it might be remembered, the way one pitch can get replayed forever. You can imagine just how much pressure he was feeling while throwing those warm-up pitches. The Dodgers had no reason to expect him to get this big out. That wasn't his role. They didn't build the October plan around him. But baseball has a habit of shoving you in the exact moment you're trying to avoid. That moment came in relief of Emmett Sheehan in the top of the 12th. Bases loaded, 2 outs, Toronto was threatening to rip the game open, and the whole stadium was buzzing with the kind of anxiety only playoff baseball can produce. And out trots Kershaw. Nathan Lucas steps in to face him. Solid hitter, contact guy, not the ideal matchup for a pitcher whose fastball at this point sits in the please don't hit this hard range. So Kershaw takes a deep breath and the at-bat begins. First pitch, slider low. Second pitch, slider for a called strike. Third pitch, just missing the bottom corner, 2-1. Fourth pitch, slider in the zone, strike 2. Fifth pitch, slider low, full count. Sixth pitch, slider deposited into left field seats. Seventh pitch, fouled back. And on the 8th pitch, a slider about a foot out of the zone. But Lucas swings at it and rolls over. Tommy Edman gloves and shovels it to Freeman. Bang bang play, but nevertheless, out. That's it, the final 8 pitches of a Hall of Fame career. Not a strikeout, not a moment that gets replayed on every postseason montage, just a simple, clean ground ball that stopped the bleeding and kept the Dodgers in a game that they absolutely had to win. A game they did eventually win, 6 innings later on a Freddie Freeman walk-off. Now, though this was a pretty small moment compared to a lot of the other ones in this game, you can draw a straight line. Technically, no Kershaw ground out, no walk-off. No walk-off, the Dodgers lose the game. And considering how the next few games went, losing Game 3 probably loses the series. So yeah, even though it's one of the small pieces of a much bigger puzzle, it was still one of the critical hinges the whole championship swung on. And it just so happened to be the last pitch Clayton Kershaw ever threw. That's the part that resonates with me. Not because it was dramatic, but because it just felt right. Kershaw himself said it afterwards, stating, "I'm thankful I got to go back out there and get that last out. To have it be at Dodger Stadium, to have it be a big out, to get to do that as the last one, that's so cool." And it really fits his whole career in a strange way. He was always the guy who carried all the weight, sometimes unfairly so. He was the guy who kept trying even when October punched him in the mouth, the one who was known for blowing the biggest moments presented to him. And now to be handed perhaps the biggest moment of his career in his final batter ever, on a night contrary to most of his past failures, where nobody even expected him to pitch. The veteran on his last legs, shoved into a spot he wasn't brought there for, in a moment that literally could not have been higher pressure. So to have his final pitch be something small, simple, and massively important, a final redemption of sorts, that made perfect sense.
How can you not be romantic about baseball?
It's almost like the baseball gods handed Kershaw the perfect ending. One pitch, one swing, one last moment that puts the perfect bow tie on a spectacular career. For Clayton Kershaw, that was enough. 8 pitches with the bases loaded at 1 in the morning, and that's the whole thing. If you blinked, you missed it.